Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Read RWBY Before the Dawn. I am your host, Raymond McNeil of Celtic Phoenix Productions, and joining me today, as always, is the delightful Molly Rhyme Master. Today we'll be covering, hopefully, chapters 6 through 7, and we are very excited to get to it. My chair is very squeaky. Now, to give up on the damned accent and actually go through with these things, Molly, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm joined today by a very tiny Weiss, who is very special to me. Um, and she is going to be holding my updated sunglasses.
Hopefully, Dr. Pepper is somewhere in the chat and he'll see that. I think he'd approve. The master of the Weiss-Knee hug machine.
Weiss-Knee hug machine.
Yes.
Yeah, she's actually a pocket Weiss, which means you could throw her if you feel threatened.
There were some people complaining last time that we went off on too many tangents. To those people, the entire purpose of these videos is for our commentary. We're not just here to give you the books for free. That's not the intent. It's fun to read along with people, but you're here to hear us talk about it and all the weird random shenanigans we get up to.
Raymond and I are not the type of people who will just quietly read and not say anything else.
Oh yeah, and we will deviate. I almost went full southern there. We will deviate. We will deviate and we will go off on tangents. Read my lips. No new taxes. I don't know, was Nixon wasn't a son. No, that's not a Nixon accent. Why was I going Nixon?
That's Jimmy Carter.
Was that Jimmy Carter?
Wasn't Carter the farmer?
What? Wasn't he the what?
Wasn't Jimmy Carter like a farmer growing up?
Maybe. I thought it was like I thought it was going JFK.
Yeah, him too. Well, he also had like that accent.
Because he was like from Arkansas, Arkansas,
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Say it specifically that way just to annoy them.
Oh, if you watch a football game, you're watching University of Arkansas, they say University of Arkansas. It's the weirdest thing. Which, as we all know, is just the higher spell casting of Kansas.
All right. So, where did we leave off? I read prologue, you read first chapter, second chapter was me. So, yeah, okay. I'm the even chapters, you're the odd chapters.
Yep. I'm an odd person. It works.
Okay. Velvet stared at the closed door of the Airbus, feeling the same shock and dismay as she had seen on yachts. Oh, that's right. They were all being sent off.
Oh, to the Hunger Games. That's right.
Right, they're being Hunger Games. JFK is Massachusetts. I don't care. He's from Arkansas now. We're rewriting...
Yeah, I always thought he was from the north. I was getting confused.
We're rewriting history, people. Don't worry. Everyone else has been doing it enough these days. Doesn't matter.
Woohoo.
She had seen on... shock and dismay she had seen on Yatsu's face as the vehicle pulled away from the roof terrace. She wrapped her arms around herself and stumbled over to a seat, head low. This is you. Thoughts?
Where?
This can't be happening?
Oh, it's the thoughts. I was looking for a quotation.
That's I get that.
This can't be happening,
she thought. No matter what terrible things Team Coffee had been through, it had always been bearable because Yatsuhashi, Coco, and Fox were at her side. They could survive anything together, and even if she sometimes wished that she weren't so protective of her, she was mostly grateful that they had her back. They were more than just teammates. They were her family. Even more so than her own parents, who never talked to each other anymore.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
They still talk to you? Like...
That's pretty common.
I guess, but like not to consider them family if they don't talk to each other. Like that's as much as Velvet disliked the thought of being on her own again. She was most nervous of who she thought she might be paired with in this reinitiation. This is, why is everyone so down? A familiar voice called from up ahead. Velvet caught the sight of Sun in the front of the Airbus, hanging upside down with his tail wrapped around a handrail. He wasn't with the rest of his team, but knowing Sun, that might be his decision. Sun saw her, smiled, and waved. Velvet looked away. A moment later, he sat down next to her. "Hey, you okay?" Sun asked.
No,
Velvet said.
Yatsu and I were separated.
She swallowed hard, trying not to cry. Sun stared ahead, like,
Crawling in my skin.
you can't
These wolves
always
stay
get
with-
what you want. Sun stared ahead, like he couldn't quite manage to feel bad. I'm sorry, he said. Seems like most students aren't too thrilled with this. I wonder why.
I want you to like imagine if you're at college and your school is like, we don't like the room arrangements. Okay, so are we gonna like file for new dorms? No, instead what's going to happen is we're gonna throw you all into a giant field. And you know, whoever
see
gets
who
it
beats
gets
each other to death first.
I would like that to happen at my school. It's an engineering school. There aren't that many athletes there.
No, they're engineering students. Holy shit, man. Like, you're going to some MacGyver shit out there. People creating, like, primitive lathes and catapults.
Well, most of them are computer science. They don't know how to do anything.
They will program the forestry.
They will program the forestry. They will hack. I love those movies where it's like, I've hacked into the network, and they're like in the middle of nowhere.
That is literally every single CW show, every single episode.
Go on.
Okay. The airbus shook and Velvet took hold of the railing.
I just wonder what the point is of this whole reinitiation.
She said, steadying herself. Oh, before I forget, everyone, how is Molly's voice balancing? We had to do wonky things with the audio before we came in here. Just want to make sure that she's on the up and up, so she can be heard and she's not overpowering me either. So it's vice versa. I forgot
Redstone
music.
engineering. That's what they can do. Redstone engineering.
There we go. Nice, relaxing music. Actually, that's a little loud. I'm gonna turn that down.
You will be thrown into a giant sandpit and fight the antlion Grim.
Right. Where was I? She said, steadying herself. It isn't a bad idea, Sun said. It's been hard for some students to settle in at Shade, like those who lost members of their team. Maybe this is a chance to really commit to our new school and our training and learn from one another in a new way.
Right.
Velvet said.
Or maybe some of us burned bridges with our team and might be looking for an easy way to avoid fixing those relationships. Man, that's like me describing Bumblebee.
I'm going to turn down my music. For some reason, it's really loud in my headset. As you can tell, guys, there are some technical difficulties today, as there always are.
Also, I'm in a different room that's bigger than my other room, so the sound might get a bit weird.
Oh my god, I already have iTunes down at like 24. I didn't realize that. Holy shit, iTunes, get better sound balancing. Audio's good? Alright, wonderful. Sun's face went red. I don't remember you being this harsh. Velvet raised her eyebrows.
Call it tough love.
I still think this might be the best way to move forward at Shade.
She's edgy Velvet now. Sun hasn't learned that. Maybe, but the timing makes no sense.
Velvet said.
If they want us prepared for an attack, breaking up these teams seems counterproductive.
Professor Rumpel is all about preparing us for the unexpected, Sun said. She likes shaking things up. Sometimes I think maybe we get too comfortable in the roles we're used to, you know?
That's true.
Velvet said. She could see that. Sun smiled. See? Everything's gonna work out.
But I still want to try and find Yatsu.
Velvet said.
Sun, you do whatever you want. That's what you're good at.
We all have our talents. Sun crossed his arm and leaned back in his seat. I bet it's not gonna be as easy as you think. I think you're right, Scarlet said, making his way through the crowd. For a change. Have you been listening the whole time? Sun asked. Yes. Scarlet put his hand on his hips. I've been standing 5 feet away. Maybe I'm ready for a new team too, he said pointedly. Damn, it's just Scarlet being fucking brutal. Great, Sun said, avoiding his gaze. You see, this doesn't sound like a team of people that have been together for the better part of a year. It sounds like a bunch of people who met like 2 weeks ago and still haven't figured out how to interact with each other.
No, like I said, I've been to an engineering school. Things be like that sometimes.
Yeah,
You ever been to a Smash Bros. Club?
Yeah, but those guys aren't constantly fighting monsters.
That's true.
They're fighting each other constantly. I mean, that's kind of the difference. Velvet did her best to change the subject.
What's the usual initiation like at Shade?
She asked. None of us know, because we haven't actually gone to this school.
Except Scarlet, yeah. I guess. Who knows?
From what I hear, they usually transport students in windowless airbuses to random spots in the desert and wait for them to come back, Scarlet said. They're assigned to teams in the order they appear in and the manner in which they survived. Velvet groaned. She had disliked the whole...
Excuse me, they just dump them in the middle of the desert?
Sounds like a good plan to me. I mean...
So they just dump them in the middle of the desert.
You know what would really fuck with this? If any one of them, like, had, like, you know, basic survival gear, like a compass.
What I think? But wait, what's their failsafe? Like, they're dropping them off at where are we dropping, boys? In random parts of the desert. And I assume they took a head count, but
we don't expect any of you to come back alive. Honestly,
what if they're like 10 short?
Well, we're 10 short then. That's fine.
If they die, they die.
People die when they are killed. Velvet groaned. She disliked the whole initiation thing at Beacon, but she had been comforted that she only had to do it once, and it had worked out pretty well in the end. Now she had to start all over from scratch, only this time it was going to be worse. And what if she ended up with someone from Team Indigo, who were among Shade students' most vocal and harassing students from Beacon or Haven?
That's so mean. They took the fan-made team and said, you know those assholes. The worst people, by the way.
Just keep, like, piling on, like... oh my god, like... And the worst part is, they're all straight! That would send the entire fandom into a tizzy. Don't think it wouldn't.
Why? They would just believe that.
It's Indigo is all girls.
So?
Do you think the fandom...
Like, if you were using that to punctuate them being terrible people,
no,
the fans would just buy that.
Oh, you mean the fans would believe that they're terrible people because of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the joke. Yeah, okay, yeah. All right,
I think it'd be even funnier if they were all like, you know, it'd be really funny is if Team Indigo were all like super functional and respectable human beings, and everyone's like, "Fuck those guys, fucking assholes." It's like, it's just like, hey guys, great news. So, you know, me and I don't know their names. Me and Indigo 2, decided to rent an apartment at a really nice spot downtown. It's right next to this great cafe, and we'd love to take you all there. And they're like, those
and Indigo 3 just got engaged. They're planning on having their first time together after the wedding. in purely
missionary position only.
Only for the sole purpose of procreation. Oh god. So are we.
Mean Girls, but purple. It's literally like a Ned Flanders situation.
All right, maybe we should stop being tangential. We were only through like page 2.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I think it's hilarious, but still. Where were we? Shade, students most vocal. You've been in the desert before. You can handle that, Sun said. Assuming they do the same thing they always do, Scarlet said. But if the Shade students have already done it once... A screen came to life at the front of the airbus, displaying Professor Rumpel's face.
I'm sure you're wondering what your goal is in this exercise. The first order of business, as always, is survival. The second is to find your way to the airbus, which will take you back to Shade Academy. The third, and this is very important, is to locate and retrieve a golden trinket.
A golden trinket?
Welcome to the 75th Hunger Games.
May the odds be ever in your favor. Sun wondered out loud, what's that supposed to mean? I imagine you'll know it when you see it, Scarlet deadpanned, because it will be gold. And a trinket. Professor Rumple went on.
Hopefully you all remember to bring your weapons with you this morning.
Holy shit, dude! Like...
What if someone forgot?
This one poor guy's like, oh man, I just needed my morning coffee. You're all being sent to the desert. He has to, oh my god, he just holds on to the coffee mug and he has to beat his way through things with like a metal coffee mug. By the
If
end
they
of
die,
it,
they die.
give that guy a promotion if you can have one as a huntsman. Unlike a beacon, Shade students didn't have weapon lockers. You were expected to have your weapons with you at all times.
Guys, because it's dangerous.
To be ready for anything. These people don't understand what proper weapon maintenance is. A nice storage space is a... You don't want your weapon carried around with you constantly. There's this gradual wear and tear that happens when you have it on your... Like a rifle. A rifle, just having that and shaking it around constantly unzeros your sights. Very subtly, but it does it. All right, where were we? Rumple had loaded information for them. Had more information loaded. Had more information for them.
For this exercise, all communications via scroll will be blocked. Not that communicating with one another would be much help to you anyway. However, your scroll will display coordinates for your Airbus home once you receive the trinket.
But you sounded like Mickey Mouse there.
Sorry.
I mean, Professor Rumple is short. We just put a little bit of mouse ears on her and we're fine.
At least this time we aren't being thrown into the air like we were at Beacon.
Velvet thought.
Prepare for drop-off.
Rumple said.
And good luck. See you back home soon.
I'm making her like full posh.
Yeah. Machinery whirled and clicked inside the Airbus. The floor trembled, and Velvet looked down to see a line appearing in the center of the floor.
Oh no.
Velvet said. Air whooshed through the cabin as the gap widened. The floor was retracting. You've got to be kidding, Sun said. Panic ensued in the Airbus. Some students edged away from the sliding floor, crowding the sides of the ship. Others simply jumped out with either a grin or a shrug of resignation. Scarlet saluted Sun and Velvet. Good luck. Then he drew his sword and hopped through the crack in the ground, into the open air. He'll be fine, Sun said.
I'm not worried about him.
Velvet stood on the edge of the diminishing platform. The only thing directly below was sand. Sand and more sand. It looked soft, but the desert was wasn't going to soften a fall from a few thousand feet. Yeah, there's a question. She had to figure out a way to slow her descent with one of her weapons and her camera. Yeah, there's a question. What if someone just, has a big fuck-off broadsword? What do they expect to do? Yatsuhashi is dead. Unless he, rides someone else down and slows his fall with their body.
What happened to rulers, Velvet? I'm not at home. So I do not have my rulers with me.
Yeah.
Sadly.
All right, Velvet.
Here we go again.
Velvet said. Sun stood across from her, ready to jump. On 3, Sun said. Velvet nodded.
1, 2.
Oh, it's...
3.
3.
Wait!
Velvet shouted. Sun leaned forward too far, windmilling his arms and grabbing a handrail with his tail to stop him from falling. What? Sun asked. Velvet turned to look at the locker on the Airbus. It was in the back, close to where she had boarded. She hurried over as more of the floor disappeared, and students either jumped or fell from the bottom of the vehicle. The small chest was locked, but she broke the hinge on it with the edge of her camera box and lifted the lid and grinned. Parachutes? Sun asked, looking over at Velvet's shoulder. Isn't that cheating? Velvet pulled 2 parachutes, leaving a couple behind.
The first and only rule is survival,
She said.
But if you don't want one...
Sun snatched the second backpack from her. stood thinking Velvet. He and Velvet strapped on their backpacks. Stay close if you can, Sun said.
You too.
Velvet said. Being with Sun would be better than being alone. They jumped. All right, so people are falling to either grievous injury or their deaths right now. I don't care if you have aura. That's 1,000 feet at minimum. You're hitting terminal velocity there, people.
F's for Yatsuashi. Yeah, they're already starting in chat. Should I change my Rumpel voice?
No, I like it. Because we all know she's a villain, and posh villains are always entertaining.
What if I made her, like, Southern rich woman? I know that I've already committed to this, but...
Like a Southern Belle type deal? Or like an evil Southern Belle?
Evil Southern Belle.
I mean,
I know you were wondering about what we were going to be doing with these parachutes and this here Airbus.
I don't know. You need to spend a little more time south. You need to... Because, trust me, I have some friends that do amazing Southern Belle accents. Because I live right next to Kentucky.
Yeah, no, I live in Manhattan. I'm about as opposite of Southern Belle as you get.
The sky was filled with students, and Velvet couldn't help feeling a flash of anticipation. But then a flash reminded Velvet of Beacon Academy and Ozpin and Professor Goodwitch, and she felt a pang of guilt and sadness for all they left behind. All the dead people they left behind. Then she kicked into action because she was falling. Velvet glanced at the ground to estimate the distance before she needed to pull the cord of her parachute. She quickly looked away. That was coming up fast. Way too fast. The other two Airbuses were miles apart from one another, so the three groups of students were clearly not going to be in the same place. Would the test be a matter of surviving in the desert after all? Yes. That was the stated intent. Around her and below, students were deploying their weapons or semblances to arrest their falls in various ways, but there wasn't much else to work with in the open desert. Nearby, Sun's chute opened and he dropped away from her. Velvet looked down. The ground was so close! Oh no, not again. She hastily pulled the cord and felt the backpack open. The chute unfurled behind her. Then, a moment of fear just before the cloth caught the wind and she was yanked backwards. Velvet grabbed the cord dangling down from her shoulder from the chute's canopy. She tugged on the left one, and the chute dipped and turned to the left slightly. Now that she was falling more slowly, but still following, Velvet took better stock of her situation. On the horizon, she saw a massive cloud, likely a sandstorm. It was moving in their general direction, so it would become a problem if they weren't done with their mission quickly. Yeah, we saw those things can fuck people up. We saw that in the last book. But that was a problem for later. That was a problem. That's a problem for future Velvet. I have a friend. We worked at the as janitors together. He still works there. I got fired for bullshit reasons. Well, I got let go for bullshit reasons. But like, I remember we were working together one day, and he was like, technically I have to wax these floors, but like, that's a problem for future me. I'm on my off day. I'm just sitting around. I get a text. I open it, and he's like, "God damn it, past me." And the thing is, this is days later where I'm just like, "Huh? Oh yeah." I love my friend.
Hold on, someone asked for another round of Fs. F's for vacuo.
F's for my life.
F's for Raymond.
The desert.
Also, I've been offered a substitute for the rulers. I've been offered pens.
Oh, you have?
Yeah. I could also, however, just put Glaceon on the screen.
That works. Glaceon works. Who doesn't like Glaceon? The desert wasn't quite as featureless as it had seemed from the Airbus. To the northeast, students were falling towards what looked like an abandoned city, its buildings half covered with sand. Velvet was pretty sure they hadn't been there the last time she looked, or if it was, it had been completely hidden under the sand. Vacuo's shifting sands often changed the landscape of the desert moment by moment. Another group of students was heading down towards the rocky area less obscured by the sand but pockmarked with holes. Oh, my throat is not clean. I don't know why. Velvet remembered a little from Rumpel's history class. These were all that was left of the underground mines, the drylands, the site of the old Paradise Oasis, long since dried up following the dust mining and the Great War. Velvet hoped Coco wasn't headed in that direction. Coco wasn't exactly good with dark, cramped spaces. Oh, she is totally there. No one was really, Velvet supposed, but Coco had an intense phobia. Some people would consider that a sign of weakness, but Velvet always appreciated the reminder that Coffee's fearless leader wasn't quite as fearless as she let on. What made her a good leader was how she didn't let it get in her way. She led anyway, and she had learned to rely on her team as much as they relied on her.
Dude, I love being told about characters.
Yeah. To be fair, again, this is something that was demonstrated in the last book, so it's like, it's sort of more of a recap than anything.
Yeah.
Because like there was a whole scene where like remember you didn't read the last book, right?
No, I didn't.
Remember the that weird part of Volume 2 where Team Coffee re-arrives and everyone's like, Team Coffee's back, and they're like, oh, there were just so many Grimm? We actually get details on that mission, and things get fucked hard. Like, people die horrifically. It's great.
Nice. It's
one of the best parts of the book. Also because Coco gets stuck in a cave because she's the only one that can go down there properly. And it's bad for her. She's constantly freaking the fuck out, and you see it all from her perspective. It's really good. It's really good. It's one of the parts I remember most fondly. But Velvet soared past the drylands, shifting towards a great chasm, what looked like a giant angry scar in the earth. This, too, she remembered from history notes.
It had to be one of the old dust quarries.
She thought.
Quarries.
Quarries. Yes. The dust companies had carved up the ground where the dust companies had carved the ground where they could, literally digging out Vacuo's riches, and then they used the area to prep dust for the refineries before hauling it off to their own kingdoms. The quarries were so deep, even the sands hadn't been able to fill them. You see, they keep spinning this like it's a bad thing, but everything about Vacuo tells me it's a terrible place, so why wouldn't you just get all the good resources and leave?
Yeah. If there was like a shit ton of diamonds underneath a large portion of the Sahara Desert, I don't think anybody would be particularly angry about digging it up.
Yeah, hell, a lot of Middle Eastern companies, they're rich in oil. I think they would leave if they could. But they have to keep the oil. Like, the economy of Vacuo makes no sense to me. Who would live here other than dust miners? Just pause and think about this for a minute. All they've said is that people who are here are tough, and they really just stay here because of, like, tradition or whatever. Those people would die out. Anyone that had a shred of common sense would leave this place, and anyone without a shred of common sense would die. So, why is anyone still in Vacuo? It makes no sense to me. Okay, where was I?
Vacuo invests in blood diamonds.
The quarries were physical manifestations of the wounds that still ran deep into in the people of Vacuo, Velvet thought. And maybe that was why Rumpel was sending students here. As she dropped closer and closer to the ground, Velvet steered towards the gash. She knew she was just imagining it, but she seemed to be falling faster as the surface approached, racing to meet her. She began kicking her feet and hit the sand with a run when she landed. I would probably do it with a roll, honestly. I don't know how you're supposed to land with a parachute. The chute pulled her to the left towards the pit in the ground. She tried to unclip the chute from her back, but the clasp was stuck, and there was too much tension to shrug off her shoulder straps. Now, for the first time, she wished she carried a bladed weapon like Fox or Yatsuhashi. Yeah, maybe carrying a knife might be a smart plan. She had a solution for that, if she could call it up in her camera in time. She filmed with an Isadora, the chute dragging her closer and closer to the quarry every single second. What if she tumbled in? And then the chute jerked up and away.
Someone in chat mentioned the UAE as an artificial city that was built in. Well, I mean, all cities are artificial, but a city that was built up on a desert. Like, the people in Dubai, besides the slaves that built the city, aren't, like, there for funsies.
Well, Dubai's
They're
on the
mostly-
ocean. It's on a coast.
Yeah, but it's also, like, a business center.
Yeah, there's reason to be there because like trade routes and the like built it up over time, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And Dubai ain't the greatest place. Every single building in Dubai uses a septic tank.
Really, all of them.
All of them. Like there's no sewer system.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It basically built up out of nothing over the past 30 years, so that kind of checks out.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that actually makes less sense. Like, why wouldn't you have a sewer system if you built it up from scratch?
Yeah. My point is, if they wanted to do, like, one of these things where it's like, oh, the land is really rich in dust, why wouldn't Vacuo's... Like, why wouldn't the city of Vacuo be filled with, like, business and wealth? Like, a lot of these cities are.
Let's see.
It's like Saudi Arabia. People have Jaguars as pets in their Ferraris.
They have Jaguar pets in their Jaguar cars.
Yes. Say Jaguar again.
Jaguar.
You said Jaguar.
Jaguar? Jaguar?
Earlier he said Jaguar.
Jaguar. I never know how to pronounce it. It's a weird spelled word.
It's okay.
The chute pulled her to the left, towards the pit in the ground. Not for the first time she wished she had... blah, 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 blah. And then the chute jerked up and away and suddenly dumped Velvet on her backside. She blinked sand out of her eyes and sputtered, spitting the bitter grit from her mouth. A red-headed girl in a blue waistcoat, silver pauldrons, and orange and cream skirt... What? Stood over her, whirling a wicked long dagger.
Great.
Velvet thought. Octavia Ember. Oh, hey! Formerly Team Indigo. One of the people she least wanted to run into.
Thanks.
Velvet said.
Whatever.
Octavia sheathed her blade and started walking away. That was more like it. Velvet pulled herself up and trailed after her.
I'm lucky I happened to be nearby. It's something sharp.
Octavia agreed.
Yes, you are. How did you get to me so fast?
Velvet asked.
I'm good with sand.
I don't like sand.
I don't like sand. It's rough, coarse, gets everywhere.
Makes memes. Now, Velvet remembered seeing Octavia's semblance in action back in the Vital tournament when when Team Indigo had fought Team Sin. She could skate over sand. I mean, that's situationally useful, but then other times completely useless. I mean, I guess that's more up your alley, right? You want, like, situationally useful semblances.
Yeah.
Oh my god, she just carries around, like, big bags of sand to throw everywhere. Like, she just needs
Pocket
one grain.
sand.
She just needs, like, one little tiny grain. She just throws it on the ground. She just skates. Maybe she, like, she can slide over non-Euclidean fluids, that kind of thing. I don't know what non-Euclidean fluids means. She could skate over sand.
I mean, I took thermals and fluids, but I'm blanking on it exactly. It has something to do with viscosity.
Yeah, or is it a non-Newtonian fluid, maybe? I can't remember. What kind of advantage... with that kind of advantage in a desert, it was no wonder she had decided to study at Shade Academy. She would also make a pretty good ally. No, that's the worst kind of logic! That is the worst logic! Why would you study in a place where you have a clear advantage? You learn the least!
Well, it could be a friction coefficient modifying semblance. Sand's friction coefficient isn't really relevant. It behaves like a liquid, but it's a solid.
This is her. Oh wait, she could also make a pretty good ally.
Yeah. So you're following me now.
Octavia said.
I'm not following you. We're just heading to the same place.
Velvet pointed to the chasm ahead.
That's the only thing for miles around. And I imagine we were dropped here to check it out. It would make more sense to hide the trinkets down there than in the open sands, if they're trying to be fair about it anyway.
Octavia shrugged.
You can stick with me if you're afraid to be on your own out here. Just don't get in my way.
Velvet bristled.
I'm not afraid, but it's foolish for anyone to wander around alone in the desert if they don't have to. And don't forget, we're being graded on everything we do, including how we treat each other.
Octavia had to know something about being on a team, right? And also, we got a €10 donation from Lost Dias. This stream is the previous. The previous ones were some of the most enjoyable RWBY content I've had in a while. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Lost Dias. We try. We really do try. It's very sweet of you. Thank you. Let's see. Where were we? Now you sent that. Now I've lost my place. Damn you, money!
It's Octavia paused.
Octavia paused. She looked back at Velvet and scrunched her nose.
Fine. Just try not to run when things get too tough.
Velvet closed her eyes and took several deep breaths, like Yatsu had taught her. She opened her eyes and smiled.
I'll try.
Bitch! Oh my god, this bitch! You ran too! Oh my god!
Tiny Wise.
I don't understand how this works. Like, why? Why are you saying that? Like, why are you being so condescending? You were at the fall yourself. You had to be. Jesus Christ. All right. Together they looked down into the rocky crevasse. Octavia sighed.
It's gonna take forever to climb down there.
Then we better get started.
Velvet dropped over the edge and worked her way downward. She took a small measure of satisfaction in the fact that she was better at climbing than Octavia. When they neared the bottom, there were smaller outcroppings that they used to jump down more quickly. The floor of the chasm was covered in sand, with more sand drifting down the sides as the desert shifted hundreds of feet above. The wind blew it down over them like snow. That's a cool visual. Also incredibly fucking dangerous. You guys probably shouldn't be down there, honestly. Snow was another thing Velvet missed from back home. One welcoming feature of the quarry, this artificial valley in the desert, was the long shadows cast by the high walls to kept the temperatures cool. Velvet even saw green plants scattered amid the usual desert scrub. She was constantly in awe that anything could grow and flourish in vacuo, whether wildlife or people. It's almost as if people living here have to be crazy to live here.
I need to take a beer and take a drink every time they mention how tough vacuo is.
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Sarah, if you're watching this, bring me a Sam Adams.
Yeah. Jack the Cat Indigo ran from the fault. Yes, they ran from the fault. They were at the fault, and then they had to retreat with everyone else that ran from the fall. And then they came to vacuo. Probably before Team Coffee did. And now they're the Team Coffee that stayed behind for long periods of time trying to reclaim their campus. A known fact and quantity, and yet they're the ones getting shit. Ooh, Sarah's getting you that beer. Anime is art. Octavia ran from Beacon, no sand, she's not Gara. Thank you, Anime as art. That's $2 Australian.
Apologies for my accent again.
They said maybe it's just $. Maybe it could be Austrian dollars, but I think they use the euro.
They do.
Ow, God, that chime is so loud in my ear.
What chime?
The chime pops up when I get a donation.
Ah, okay.
And it randomly pops up too when I have Streamlabs open. So it's like whenever someone subscribes. She and Octavia moved along as quickly and carefully as they could, Octavia setting their pace.
Hold on. Sorry, my phone is I'm trying to keep it up here so I can see the chat. Let's put it here. Precariously over the power button. Oh, the beer is here.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, just stay on this side too. That's good. Thank you. You are a gem.
No problem.
By the way, check out the bottle opener.
Oh, that's adorable.
She got me that.
Is that a little dolphin? Is that, or is it a whale? Like, I can't
It's
tell.
a seal.
It's a seal.
It's
Oh,
a
it's a
seal.
seal. Oh, that's so cute. Oh god. All right, we'll take like three drinks now. Yeah, well, let's play the Before the Dawn. Actually, this is just the RWBY Novel drinking game at this rate because it's all
RWBY
in
Novel
vacuo. Every time vacuo is mentioned to be dangerous and deadly, take a shot. Or just a drink, not a shot. Take shots, you're dead.
A shot of beer.
Okay.
Rudy Ruby, let's get drunk. I'm not going to get drunk on one Sam Adams light beer.
But my clan is sheltered. That's where we're at.
My clan sheltered in one of these quarries once during a sandstorm. That was a mistake.
Octavia paused for a long moment before she went on, her voice softer.
We stumbled across a nest of blind worms. There was nowhere to escape. The walls were too high. We lost a third of our family. I'm sorry,
Velvet said. Team Coffee had tangled with just one blind worm recently, and they were all lucky to be alive. Yeah, Coco got eaten by it. Octavia drew a breath and swiped at her face, though her eyes were dry. Velvet had learned that people rarely cried in vacuo. Part of it was their stoic nature and broad acceptance of the hardships that they all faced, but part of it was the practicality of not wasting any precious water in the desert. They simply didn't have the luxury of showing emotion. I mean, you can show emotion through other things than crying. Like punching walls. Take John's example. So, this is Octavia again.
Hold on, I need to take a... Because it's tough, they can't show emotion. So I don't want to spend any more time here than we have to. And I'm sure some of the others are ahead of us.
Octavia went on. Velvet took that to mean that she was slowing down a reluctant partner, but it was a good sign that Octavia wasn't choosing to leave her behind. Octavia climbed into a large piece of machinery and talked over the goddamn plane that's flying overhead. The quarry was littered with broken rocks, fragments of abandoned equipment, and other detritus from the old dust refining industry here. The other
New word, everyone.
Had come into vacuo, taken what they wanted, destroyed the land, which was already a piece of shit, and then left their trash behind on the way out. Velvet
How do you destroy a desert?
Yeah, how do you destroy a desert? You make it watery? Doesn't that improve it?
It's been done.
Velvet was ashamed of Vale for its role in all this, though it played a smaller role than Atlas and Mistral. Right now, she had better understanding of the resentment Octavia and the other Shade students were harboring for the refugees from Beacon and Haven. Once again, people from... I still can't get over. There should be no Haven refugees. There's no purpose in it. Once again, people from other kingdoms were only coming to Vacuo because they wanted something from it. And many of the refugees hadn't stopped complaining about the hardships they faced here, or pining for their old schools. Even Velvet had been guilty of that, she realized. It had to be hard to believe they were fully committed to Shade when they had one foot in Vacuo and the other back home. Octavia poked around the rusted and sand-pitted metal machine. It might have been a transport of some kind, once upon a time.
Nothing here.
She jumped down to rejoin Velvet.
Oh wait, that was Octavia. Nothing here.
She jumped down.
The others probably grabbed all the trinkets already.
Octavia said resentfully.
They missed one.
Velvet said, peering up at the branch of scraggly acacia tree.
There, Velvet has the trinket.
Not too likely.
Not too likely.
Octavia said. She pushed forward and cut through the long, dry grass with her dagger.
No, I can see it. They missed one.
Velvet insisted. She pointed to the top of the tree, where something glinted on the crook of a branch. Octavia shielded her eye and squinted.
Wow, how did you see that?
She sounded almost admiring. Velvet blushed.
I have good eyesight.
Get it? Because she eats carrots! Transcendent meme! She pushed away the memory of a childhood bully asking her if she had bitter eyes because she ate so many carrots.
Don't rabbits have worse eyes than humans?
I didn't realize they made the same joke I did. Damn it. Oh, damn it. I didn't even see that there. Comments like that always... Also, that makes no sense. I have no idea... Because, like, the entire carrots thing was a British lie during World War II. You know that, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I know that.
I just don't know. Okay,
I hate the idea that it's like, oh, the fawn is automatically okay. Better smell, sure. Better hearing, sure. But most animals don't have eyesight as good as humans.
Yeah. Raymond's laugh is contagious. Well, it's very flattering. Thank you.
Two girls, one carrot. RWBY fanfic writers, get on that.
Yeah, Lumi, I've been told that I should just sit in the like for like fledgling comedians, I should sit in the audience for them. Sit in the audience, not whatever I just pronounced. If I sit in the audience and I just start laughing for them, I can just get a whole crowd laughing because apparently I just do that to people. So where is it? Comments like that always hurt, although she did have a sharper vision because she was a faunus. Even knowing that the skills others mocked made her more powerful, couldn't take the sting off those hateful interactions. A vacuum would just let it go and move on, but Velvet had to work to do that. Velvet.
Ow.
That gave her some perspective on the constant bullying from the Shade students, too. What if it was just another thing people were supposed to survive out here? Vacuo didn't care about your feelings, and most Vacuans didn't either. They just said whatever came to mind, even if it was rude. Exhibit A, Fox. Holy shit, book, we get it. Vacuo sucks. That didn't excuse Vacuan's behaviors, but it did take away some of the bite. If Velvet and the others from Vale and Mistral could weather it like any other dust, or desert, sun, or storm, maybe they would be accepted here. Octavia surveyed the trinket.
I'll get it,
She said.
Be right back.
She quickly scrambled up the acacia tree. At the top, she grabbed the trinket and called out triumphantly.
Got it.
Then she screamed and fell. Velvet leapt into action, reaching the base of the tree just in time to catch Octavia.
Thanks. Looks like we're even.
Octavia said, a bit shaken. Hey guys! Shipping time. What's Octavia? What's her theme? Oh! Octavia
Being poorly dressed?
Oh god, I have the name. Bunny Clutch.
I don't get it.
A clutch of bunnies? A fluffer.
Oh.
Like a bunch of bunnies. Bunny bunch, that would be it. Bunny bunch. For 8 bunnies.
Every time I go through like AO3, sometimes if I see like a rare pairing, I'll just say, that's woke. And literally every time I see Blake paired with someone that isn't Yang, I'm like, that's woke.
Velvet.
What happened?
Velvet asked. Octavia pointed up.
Ravager.
Velvet looked up and saw a dark shape swooping down on them. Octavia dropped onto her... How did you not notice that, Velvet? What the fuck? You were looking up! Dropped onto her feet and coasted away on the sand, Velvet running right behind her. Velvet.
Someone says we need to hear that again. Instant replay it. I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't see that.
Velvet said.
Not your fault.
Octavia said.
I almost didn't see it myself until it tried to bite my head off.
Watch out!
The bat-shaped shadow hovering over them loomed larger as the flying grim dove. Velvet and Octavia separated as it raked through the ground with them, between them with the long talons. Octavia swiped at it with her dagger, and the Ravager screamed. It beat its massive leathery wings and then took off, kicking up a cloud of sand that momentarily blinded Velvet. The Ravager's scream reverberated through the chasm as it faded. What? What
That's its scream.
No, that was good.
That's its scream.
Caw!
Caw!
As it faded, more shapes began peeling from the walls and hidden crevices. A whole swarm of Ravagers. Octavia held up her scroll. A light was blinking on just ahead. The Airbus.
You held on to the trinket?
Velvet asked. Of course she did. Octavia held out over her hand and opened it. A small golden palm tree rested in it, shining in the light.
Let's get out of here.
But I still need one.
Velvet said in a panic. Octavia's voice was steady.
I would have missed this without you. Technically, it's yours.
Maybe we can share?
Velvet checked her scroll. She was relieved to see the Airbus coordinates blinking on her display as well. Then the chasm suddenly grew dark. Now the sky was blotted by dozens of Ravagers above them. Velvet shrank away from them in fear, and even even Octavia seemed a little less vacuum for a second.
Alright, where are we? Oh. Remember how I told you to not run when things get tough?
Octavia asked.
Forget it.
They ran.
Laugh track.
The Ravagers screeched. One dove and hovered in front of them, its wings beating the air, blocking their way to the Airbus. And logically, the two just tackled it to the ground and sped past it, right? Octavia drew her long dagger and Velvet pulled out her camera. Octavia raised an eyebrow.
Really?
Velvet smiled. She few at Shade had seen Velvet use an Isadora, both because hard light dust was extremely scarce these days with the Atlas embargo, so then change weapons, and because Coco always liked to preserve the element of surprise. She called Velvet Team Coffee's secret weapon, which was actually true since everyone just thought Velvet liked taking pictures. Some students in the know were also a little uncomfortable with the idea that she was copying their weapons and mimicking their moves with her photographic memory. But right now, Velvet had a better idea. She held up her camera and pressed the shutter button. The camera clicked and the bulb on top flashed, flooding the canyon ahead of them with stark white light. The Ravager screeched and then flapped away, lurching into the night, disoriented. Lurching to the right, not the night. It's daytime. So why is a bulb flash in the daytime of the frickin' shade, I guess? They're in shade. It crashed into the side of a quarry and tumbled to the ground.
Nice.
Octavia cheered.
I can't give Octavia too much emotion.
Yeah, she's vacuuming.
She's vacuuming, guys.
The ground rumbled, and Velvet's heart raced at the sound as she remembered Octavia's clan and the blind worms.
Sorry, it's not the size of the carrot, but how you eat it.
I will save that for my girlfriend later. No, no, I don't know. That's a weird. What does that even mean? I'm just going over that in my head. What does that even mean?
How you eat it?
Dodging Ravager. Blah, blah, blah. The ground rumbled. The blind worms. Whatever. If she never had to face another one of those creatures again, it would be too soon. Wait. If she never had to face another one of those creatures again, it would be too soon. Does that make sense? I feel like that's a double negative.
That is. Vacuum. She has a southern accent. Do I have to give her a southern accent? I'm not gonna do that.
Then a rock rolled down the side of the quarry wall, landing near a Ravager's head. Other stones followed along with a cascade of sand. In spite of the avalanche, Velvet and Octavia kept moving, dodging Ravagers who recovered from the flash. Other Ravagers circled overhead, and the sound of crashing rocks and angry rain was deafening. It became difficult to see with the dust filling the narrow canyon, but Velvet squinted and took the lead. A dark shape loomed ahead. Another Grim? That was the last thing they needed. Then bright floodlights turned on. It was the Airbus!
Thank the brothers.
Stop! Stop! No! God! Religion! No one believes in religion, remember? People know about the brothers? What? Team RWBY was confused when they first heard that.
It's a vacuum thing.
Why would vacuum? You know, the first book was actually really good with continuity. They kept everything relatively self-contained. It was actually pretty nice. And then this. Holy shit. Wait, how is Velvet's weapon secret after the Vital tournament? She did not use it during the Vital tournament. She didn't. She probably just like Coco had her hang back. Okay. Well, there's another retcon. Chalk that up, please. Oh, god damn it. Octavia muttered.
We don't have to climb out of here.
Soon they clambered aboard the ship and started to lift off. This part of the initiation had been brief but terrifying. Velvet wondered how the rest of her team, her old team, had fared, but then she stiffened with her a new fear.
Wait!
Velvet said to the Airbus pilot.
Did we get everyone?
You two are the last, the pilot said. That guy made us wait. Sun hurried over. Are you hurt? He asked Velvet. She nodded, rubbing her at her eyes, which were irritated from the sand and also brimming with tears.
She's fine,
Octavia told Sun. Velvet was grateful for her for doing the talking. You woke up the Ravagers, Sun shook his head. And you lived to tell the tale. The Ravagers aren't super... They swarm, that's about it. This is also Velvet's thoughts.
Was that respect in his eyes?
Velvet wondered. She couldn't wait to tell Coco about it. What if Sun had passed by the trinket in the tree, knowing it would be too dangerous to retrieve it? She and Octavia had not had that luxury. The Airbus tilted to the right as a Ravager dove by it. Machine guns fired on the Grim, keeping them at bay until the Airbus got to a safe distance.
Hey, I thought in Volume 6 having turrets on the top of passenger vehicles was bad because it attracted the Grim.
I forgot about that stupid plot point. Why did you remind me of that? Velvet watched as the shape of the quarry changed and expanded. The ground around it was collapsing, the sand swirling in fury. Velvet sighed. The initiation ritual had been hard and almost deadly, and even worse was yet to come. The assignment of the new teams. All right, so just throwing this out there. Why didn't she use the parachute to go down into the rift? Like, they jumped down. Also, why did it take them longer than everyone else?
Parachutes only work down a certain height.
They only work the terminal velocity. As long as you can hit terminal velocity, I think it works.
Well, how deep were they going in that chasm?
A couple 100 feet.
I don't think you reached that. Like, that's like base jumping.
I mean, all the same.
Also, chat, what are your wokest RWBY pairings?
Telling you, dolts and bolts.
What's that one?
That's the OT3 with Ruby, Weiss, and Penny.
Okay. That's not woke though.
I mean, it's
pretty
kind
common.
of like OT3s are a little more extreme.
I saw oh wait, we got a super chat.
Oh, we should show that on stream. Anime is Art says, okay, Raymond, before you go nuts, can I suggest this is the perfect moment for Linkin Park Velvet? Remember fun stream. Someone picked Paper Cut earlier. I'm trying to think of how to show it because it'll screw up your camera.
I don't need to be on screen all the time. It's okay.
It's just like showing my Discord. That's the issue.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, so if I... All right, window capture is you. Turn that off. Let me see if I can find Emo Velvet. Oh, god damn it, Floof, you've clogged the entire damn thing. Wait, I've shown them to you, didn't I? Have we talked that much since? Can you find them?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know if I'd be able to find them. It was a while ago.
It was last week.
Yeah, but we talk a lot.
Emo Velvet.
Hold on, we have a winner for wokest pairing. Sienna X Kali. I see you are a man of culture as well.
Fan art, maybe?
It was sent to us pretty soon after last week's recording.
Yeah, I don't know how to go through messages and like
If
besides
you
scrolling.
When you do Control F, you are given the option to sort by date.
Oh, what's the date? Be August 7th.
Yeah.
7th. After August.
Penny X Whitley. Now that is woke. I have never heard that one.
Oh, Penny X Whitley? That actually, I
Yeah.
saw there was someone that did that, and it was actually really cute. Oh, yeah, sweet. Okay, there we go. Let's see.
That is woke. Wow. I could always count on CJ.
Let's see. Oldest. Maybe I could just look on Perry's, because Perry was, I believe, the one that did that, or maybe it was Redlock. I'm trying to remember who did that. Oh, and let's see. Has Lincoln image.
Jock X Adams bomb. Oh, now we're going somewhere. We're going places where we shouldn't.
Jock X. Oh, yeah.
I want to see that fanfic.
Huh? Is it not? Why is it not popping up? Was it on the 7th? Maybe.
Luke, one more comment like that, and I will have you kicked.
What do you say?
Penny X the Twin Towers.
Eh. All right. Let's see. There's cute Dimitri. Cute. There's Dorothy. There's Aqua in a dress.
There's Aqua in a dress.
I can't find it. All right, I'm gonna search Sketchy Huntsman for one more minute here, and hopefully I can find it.
John X MILFs. Why would you give the MILFs to John?
Well, to be fair,
Come on,
they were
chat.
all over him.
Okay, fine.
Where is it? Where was it shared even? I'm trying to remember. Oh, and there's the flu 4. Oh, found it. Found it. All right. It was Perry. I was right. All right, so I wonder if I can... Nope. Undo that. I can't really get this copy image.
RWBY X Failure is a good ship. That's right.
Paint.
Neo X Team RWBY. I've read those fanfics. They're not that good. John and Pyrrha's mom. You know, it's cruel. It's cruel. Guys, nobody died a bigger version than Pyrrha.
All right.
Give the MILFs to Ironwood, the true Chad.
I can't really
Yes.
get a good angle.
Yes.
Go back to Molly, and then I can...
Blake X of Victim Complex. I mean, that's canon.
Media source. Not media source.
Coco and Ilya. Show me the fanfic and I will judge it. Weiss and Ilya is woke. Cinder and Pyrrha's ashes. Why does nobody spell Pyrrha correctly?
Where is paint?
Velvet and Daddy Issues is also canon.
Why is paint not an option here? Where is it? Paint. It's not detecting paint. Why is it not detecting paint? No. Ah, there we go. Okay, there you go, people. Whew. That was complicated. There is Velvet. Emo Velvet.
Emo Velvet.
And then if I scroll back to those posts, we also have one from Redlock, I believe.
Guys, what's Symphogear?
Oh, Symphogear? What about Symphogear?
Luke mentioned Symphogear.
Yang Exhibiki? Okay. Oh, God. Yang, dude, alright, look, Symphogear's not a good show, but I don't want it ruined by RWBY. Okay, and then we'll... that's a tiny comic.
Look, I know we have this pile of manure over here, but I don't want to ruin it with this pile of garbage, you feel?
Yeah, manure is actually useful.
Exactly. Legs X Mercury.
Alright. Everyone got your fill of emo velvet? Alright, good. Let's close that.
Blake, Sun, Adam, Yang, Coco, Ilya, and Velvet. I like how Coco and Velvet are like completely not unrelated to the other 4 characters.
But yeah, no,
5.
Symphogear, I wanted to just explain briefly. It's a magical girl anime about singing, but like also like hardcore martial arts to some degree. Like, it's hard to explain, but basically like the characters sing to get their powers, but then their powers are like, one of them's punching, there's a sword girl, there's a gun girl who's best girl, Chris Yukine, best girl. There's then in the later seasons there's a scythe girl, a yo-yo girl who has like bladed yo-yos as her weapon, and then a girl that has like an extendo knife.
So it's just a fighting game.
It's just a magical girl anime basically,
Okay.
and
But like in the style of a fighting game.
something like that. Yeah. Surprisingly, I don't think it has a fighting game. How dare I speak ill of the greatest anime ever made? Look, I can't say Symphogear is the greatest anime ever made, even though it has probably one of the best waifus of all time in it. Because Maria exists, who's literally just a disgusting amalgamation of the 3 principal characters of the show. And she's literally just there to suck all on their screen time. It's basically singing lesbian Power Rangers. Yes, that's accurate. But still, Maria exists and makes it even worse as a consequence. Maria if Maria existed, she should have died in season 2 where she belongs.
Mercury X being an actually good character. Mercury X being a character. Emerald 2.
The RWBY series X actually having characters.
Yes, Luke, we know that /X means sarcasm.
I actually didn't know that.
You didn't?
No. I don't frequent forums. That's forum speak.
Sometimes.
Like, I think I've seen it before. It's just I never, like, Crow getting cucked. Okay? I don't know if that's really woke so much as it's just your weird fetish.
I see Insane Oddball has revealed his NTR fetish, and I do not respect that.
All right. Chapter 7.
All right. I have to say, I'd say the wokest of all of those was probably aesthetically Sienna and Kali. Conceptually, Whitley and Penny.
Yeah, I really like the Whitley Penny idea. I think it'd be super cute.
Crow and blaming Ironwood. Crow and Ironwood. Crow and Summer.
Crow and Crow.
RWBY X Better Writers X kicking out Miles, Luna, and John.
But it's we're trading off your turn to read.
Yeah. Hazel X siding with the woman who controls the creatures that probably killed his sister. Alright, everybody, good show. Scarlet was disappointed that there'd been no big celebration following reinitiation. Unlike Haven Academy, Shay just wasn't much for parties. Scarlet had been feeling, especially felt like celebrating his new team assignment. Team Roski, Rosie. Rosk. I can pronounce that one. Team Rosk, joined by Reese Cloris, Olive Gashley, what a last name, and Coco Hadell. Of course, he knew Reese from Haven, though the athletic, green-haired girl didn't strike him as a born leader. But she wears rollerblades, so I'll give her props for that. I am biased.
You mean skateboards?
I thought she rollerbladed. That was Neon who rollerbladed. Oh,
I actually
Neon.
like. I hated her because she was a meme, but the more I reflect on Neon, the more I actually really like her. she's a weirdly likable character.
Get in the robot, Whitley. God, I love this chat. Of course he knew Reese from Haven, though the athletic green-haired girl didn't strike him as a born leader. On the other hand, she wasn't Sun, so she was definitely an upgrade. He didn't know Olive either, but having a Wolfbonus on your side couldn't be a bad thing. And then there was Coco. Scarlet used to think Team Kiffy was overrated, but after seeing them in action, he wondered what it would be like to be on Coco's team. Now he would get to find out. Alas, it looked like the best Scarlet was going to get was a pity party. After another meeting of the Beacon Brigade, he felt like he had to hide how happy he was about his new team because everyone else was depressed and angry. Worst of all, Velvet had Drax Sun back here for some reason, just when Scarlet was ready to get a little distance from him at last.
Wow, that was messy.
A little bit too much speed on that one.
Your pants enjoying the beer too.
Yes, they are. Actually, I had a blanket over my legs, but some got up my nose. Scarlet was careful around Neptune and Sage. He didn't want them to think he was too thrilled about the reinitiation, because he genuinely liked them. He just wanted a fresh start, and they were never going to get that with Sun in charge. Things had turned out well for Neptune anyway. He landed on Team Burn, which is actually said how it's spelled, with Bolin Hori, Yatsuhashi, and a Shade student named Ray Noir.
Oh my god, please tell me they go around constantly. Like, they match Coco for overdramatic noir speak. Dame walked into my office. She was followed by a bunch of saxophones and the smooth sounds of jazz.
Yeah. Still knows. He looked uncomfortable, though, sitting stiffly between Bolin and Yatsuhashi on the other side of the room. Relax, guy. No. No, it says, relax, guy.
Oh, relax, guy.
Scarlet thought. But poor Sage was still stuck with Sun on Team C, along with Electra Fury and Ariadna.
Okay, props to the parents of Electra Fury. They knew what their daughter was going to be about, and they committed. That is amazing.
I need to look up how to spell that name.
What, Electra?
No, Ariadne.
Ariadne, yeah.
I've never heard that name before.
Ariadne Guimet.
Guimet. Guimet.
We may not. We don't know.
We may not. And Sage had been designated team leader, too, which was proof of the utter randomness of this exercise.
Good luck with that.
Scarlet thought. As far as Scarlet tells, Sun didn't seem bothered in the slightest by not being the boss. He probably didn't care who was in charge because he wasn't going to listen anyway. Truly is roast Sun hour. Which gave Scarlet hope that if Team Sun was ever reinstated, Sun might just step aside. They wouldn't even have to change the name. That hadn't been an option at Haven, but here at Shade, surely Headmaster Theodore wouldn't want anyone leading who didn't want to, or hadn't proven themselves to be the strongest choice for the team. Perhaps that was one reason for the shakeup. Now Theodore had rearranged things to make the teams and the whole academy stronger. It's not like I hate you or anything, Sun, but Baka.
This is Velvet.
Hi everyone. I know today was a shock for all of us, but regardless of our assigned teams, we'll always have the Beacon Brigade.
Velvet said to start off the meeting. Scarlet had never seen her so down before. Oh, she's like depressed, okay. She always at least tried to put on a bright face, but now it was like her light had gone out, probably because she was on Team Nova. Two of Shade's loudest critics of Beacon students, Nebula Violette and Octavia Ember. At least the group was rounded out by Arslan Alton, but of course that means you'll actually have to pronounce Arslan Alton, like, quickly. Recently of Team Auburn.
Alton? Have I been pronouncing that wrong? I thought it was Atlan.
Alton. A-L-T-A-N.
I swear it was Atlan. Oh my god, I've been pronouncing that wrong the whole time and fixing RWBY. Well. Okay, then.
All right, everyone, mind wipe.
Everyone, please forget about that. Wait.
Arslan had always been a better leader than her team deserved, Scarlet thought, so maybe this would be a good change for her, too.
Here we go again with the Beacon Brigade stuff.
Excuse me? Velvet frowned. I thought you came back here to apologize. Scarlet laughed. How could she even believe that?
Sun's pretty bad at apologies. I can apologize.
Sun's tail swept back and forth.
Go on, then.
Scarlet said, prompting him. Sun put his hands into his pockets and looked down.
I'm sorry I said all those mean things and stormed out of here last time.
He said quickly.
I'm sorry I said all those mean things and stormed out of here last time.
Thank you, Velvet began. Sun lifted his head.
But I was only trying to help you understand how elitist this group looks to everyone else.
Scarlet rolled his eyes. He leaned back to watch the show.
I'm just saying,
Sun said.
Beacon Brigade? It's right there in the name. You're telling everyone that you don't belong at Shade, that your heart's always going to be back there.
Velvet shook her head.
That's why this whole reinitiation thing's a good idea. Theo wants to integrate us into Shade, and to do that you have to start over. I say give it a chance. You don't have to. You have to leave the past behind in order to move on.
The gall of it. The gall of it all. It was so obvious what Sun was doing. He was practically gleeful to be rid of his teammates. Scarlet had promised himself he wouldn't rise to the occasion, but he suddenly found that he couldn't just sit there, silent.
I guess it's not hard to move on when you're always moving, huh?
He sat up straight and looked at Sun.
Just how ecstatic are you to be moving on from us? Be honest. While we're at it, maybe you can explain why. Okay, guys, look, just fuck already, please.
Sun was taken aback.
What?
Well, it's still
Well,
new.
you were always leaving us and going solo. We were never sure why.
Scarlet said. They might not be on the same team now, but his questions hadn't gone away. Sage still had questions too. Were we not good enough for you? He asked.
Well, he gets, no characterization.
I know, that's why I could give him any voice I wanted. Sun looked back and forth
orangutans. Bad Brady.
I don't get it. Anyway. Sun looked back and forth between them, suddenly deflated.
Where did I... No, I never wanted you to think that.
He glanced at Neptune.
I didn't know you thought that. How could he not know?
Scarlet wondered.
Our team was Team Sun. Our team was Team Sun. It's practically named after you, but most of the time you weren't part of it.
He said.
It's just a name.
Sun began. Names are important, Velvet jumped in. They're part of our identity. That's why it's upsetting when pieces of our identities are taken away from us without asking, without warning. Think about what happens when you lose a part of yourself. Scarlet's glance fell on Nolan. One of the undeniable benefits of reinitiation was that Nolan had a team again. Team Fondue! I love that. With Fox Dougal and Umber Gorgonian.
Gorgonian.
It's a new evolution. I think I made that joke last time.
Team
I definitely made that
Chef
joke
from
last week.
Frickin' Muppets.
Already the pretty boy looked a little perkier than last time Scarlet had seen him.
Son, Beacon is like our clan name.
Fox said. Sun turned to look at him. When Fox spoke, you couldn't help but pay attention, even if half the time his rare pronouncements were just sarcasm.
It was Fox's idea. We're part of Vacuo now, and to belong, we decided to take a name.
Well, I'm reading some of the comments.
Beacon was the obvious choice.
We know we might not ever retake our old school. I know I'd like to. Of course we'd like to go back there one day. But that's not what the Beacon Brigade is about.
It's not?
Sun asked. Oh, here we go, boys. Beacon is our symbol, Coco said. It represents our common bond, because it's the thing that brought us here. All of us, whether you're from Vale, Mistral, or Vacuo.
Oh.
Sun said again. How did Reese sound? Guys, how did Reese sound?
Reese never had a voice.
Really?
Like she had like screams. She's like Neo in that circumstance.
Guys, how should Reese sound?
Well, she looks like she always paints on like the eye makeup, like under the eye, like a freaking pro football player.
Loco speech. I'm waiting for the chat to catch up.
Yeah. Velvet needs to give Scarlet the carrot. What?
New pairing.
One of his lines was that you should always bring your friends into things. Yeah, I agree. This entire book is just shading on Sun unnecessarily. I don't think... This doesn't ring true to Sun at all. Skater girl from the 2000s. From the 200s.
Like, the 200s.
Yeah. We need to go back to biblical speak. Oh, anime is art. Beacon, a symbol, broken, infested, dead.
Dead. Skater chick, yeah.
What is skater
Hey,
chick
guys.
yeah, I guess, like, groove, radical, man.
Man, that was tight. You want to play Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 after school today? I got the controller that looks like a skateboard. Did anybody have those? Anyway.
I always wanted, because it was so stupid, the Resident Evil 4 controller that looked like a chainsaw. And it looked incredibly, incredibly hard to hold. Like, I could never figure out how, like, when you first glance at it, you're like, how do you hold that thing? And even when you figure it out, you're just like, that looks uncomfortable.
Remembering Beacon motivates us, Reese said, to prepare ourselves for next time. She's always radical and groovy, guys. I also don't know how to do that voice without yelling.
Nolan nodded.
Nolan nodded.
I'm not gonna run away ever again. I'm running towards the fight. Wherever and whenever it is. Wherever and whatever it is. It's the least I can do for my team. That's what Beacon is to me. It's the light that's leading me to where I'm supposed to be. Where I'm needed most. Where I'll most likely die a horrible, flaming death.
Now Scarlet could see Nolan's silence as determination. Confidence looked good on him. Nolan wasn't struggling to mourn for his fallen friends after all. He was holding on to that grief. He was just using it to drive him. You know, I was thinking about this. Somebody in the Tundra Discord mentioned this yesterday. Like, that, nobody else on Team Juniper got a chance to mourn for Pyrrha except John.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Pyrrha is purely there to fuel John. It like
I really feel for Nolan losing his whole team, because even this like tiny bit of him we've seen so far in the book, it sounds like he really loved them, and he's just really having difficulty moving on, because like that's a horrible thing to go through.
And meanwhile, you have Team Juniper, who, Pyrrha dies, and like Pyrrha had her own little arc that was great for her, but it was isolated everyone else. It wasn't involving anyone else. It was all about her and the maidens and all that garbage. It felt very detached from everyone else. It didn't feel like anyone really interacted with her besides John. And then so when she died, it's only John that had like I mean, it's when RWBY goes to have that talk with Oscar in Volume 5 that it all rings super friggin' hollow.
It's really like a shame, because in my experience, when I'm like one of 2 or 3 girls in a group that's mostly male, like we're like all besties, you know? Like, why weren't Pyrrha and Nora besties? Like, they should have been. There was nothing that suggested.
I don't disagree.
There's nothing that suggested they wouldn't get along. Like, why doesn't Nora get the chance to have her scene where she's upset about Pyrrha? It does it not also kill her? Like,
I'm working on it. I'm working on it with fixing RWBY. Now Scarlet.
Now Scarlet. Now Scarlet could see Nolan. No, we read that part.
Oh no, we were at Scarlet had been
underestimating Nolan all this time, just like Sun had been underestimating the rest of them. But would Sun ever see that?
Well, you've been sending a mixed message with this group. At least the Vacuans. It seems.
Sun said stubbornly.
It seems like you're just using Shade Academy to get strong enough to go back and save your real home. But when you put it that way, I guess it makes sense.
Sun's tail wrapped around his waist as he considered this. Anyway, just reading from the chat. Scarlet hoped he wouldn't hurt himself thinking too hard.
It's Coco chat.
I know, I need to take the drink for someone roasting Sun. Whether we go back to recover Beacon Academy one day, or need to defend Shade from the same enemy. We're training together to be ready for anyone and anything that poses a threat, Coco said.
Maybe I was wrong,
Sun said. Oh, Scarlet was almost as stunned to hear him admit that as Sun sounded saying that.
But it just goes to show you your average Vacuan is going to assume the worst about outsiders. I thought you were setting yourselves apart from us instead of seeing that you were trying to be more Vacuan.
He pursed his lips.
The trick is getting everyone else to see it that way, too.
Sometimes talking helps, Velvet said softly, to help everyone understand other people's perspectives. That's why we're here.
Sun shrugged, but he sat down next to Scarlet. It looked like he was planning to stay after all, for now. Maybe they were finally getting through to him.
Talking does help,
Scarlet said.
If you're ready to listen. I'm more of a man of action. Actions speak louder than words.
Scarlet shook his head.
There's a time and place for everything. Oh no, flashback. Okay. Actions speak louder than words, Headmaster Theodore said as he addressed Team Sin for the first time. I completely agree, sir, Sun said. Professor Rumple put a finger over her lips, but Sun didn't seem to notice. He was as cocky as ever. What brings you to Shade Academy? Theodore asked. I grew up here, Sun said. This couldn't have been news to the headmaster, but he looked surprised. Oh, but you decided to attend Mistral Academy. He exchanged a look with Professor Rumple. Then he looked sternly at Scarlet, Sage, and Neptune. This is going well, Scarlet thought. Maybe we can all still catch the train on the way back to Argus. Oh, this is going well, Scarlet thought. Maybe we can still catch the same train on the way back to Argus. Did you take a train all the way to Vacuo? How does that work? Why did a train... Why was the train in Argus have a sign for Vale?
Yeah, isn't that across the ocean?
Yeah. Does the train go under the ocean? That'd be cool, but like, the hell?
Someone said you've done nothing but complain, and I don't know if that's talking about me, you,
it's talking about
Scarlet,
It's literally,
or
Scarlet,
Sun.
Stop it. You're a fucking asshole. You've been nothing but complaining. Yeah. I mean, he's complaining about legitimate things, but like, they're legitimate things at the sacrifice of Sun's character.
And the cost of Sun's dignity.
I wanted to see more of the world before settling down, Sun said. He hadn't even noticed anything was wrong. Sage snickered. Rumple's eyes flashed gold. So you think of Vacuo as settling? Theodore asked. Sun scratched the back of his head with the top of his tail. Yes? Scarlet shook his head. I mean, no. Sun jumped up. Then he sat down again. I mean, I don't know what I wanted, but absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? I miss this place. Theodore tapped his gloved hands together thoughtfully. Now, obviously, I don't have a copy of your transcript given Professor Lionheart's tragic but heroic death. Theodore glanced at the pictures on the wall, and Scarlet saw his old headmaster smiling up there. But I've done some digging, and I heard that you're not actually at Haven Academy last semester, Sun Wukong. That's that, Scarlet thought. Even if he doesn't want Sun, maybe he'll still take the rest of us. Yes, Theo. Can I call you Theo? No! Barked Theodore and Rumple at the same time. Right, sorry, Professor. Headmaster, Headmaster Theodore, I was on special assignment in Menagerie.
Special assignment given by whom?
Rumple asked. By himself, Scarlet muttered. Theodore looked them over. He said. And which of you is the leader again? I know it's not Neptune, but you can tell that's just by looking at him. Neptune's jaw dropped. It's Sun, Scarlet, Sage, one of you, yes? I am, Sun said, raising a hand. It's me. Theodore regarded Sun thoughtfully, as though he had already known that too. Really? Sun nodded. Rumple was momentarily speechless. I knew that it wasn't just us, Scarlet thought. If actions matter to Theodore, matter to someone, maybe someone will finally tell Sun that his behavior isn't acceptable for a leader. Well, see, Sun began. Theodore held up a hand. No explanation requested or needed. Rumple leaned over and whispered something to the headmaster. He listened attentively while continuing to look the boys over. He didn't seem impressed by what he saw. Finally, he spoke to them. Again. Well, frankly, I think Team Sun would have done better waiting for Haven to reopen, Theodore said. However, since you're already come all this way, in consideration of your timely assistance to Team Coffee and the Schist refugees, we can offer you professional enrollment at Shade Academy.
What's the Schist? Is that from the last book?
Yeah, it was a tribe they were traveling with. It's a stupid name. Provisional? Neptune asked. Rumple.
Oh. Until you wash out or he changes his mind.
Rumple explained.
Frankly, that happens a lot.
Which? Neptune asked timidly. Rumple? Said Theodore, indicating she should explain. She smiled.
The headmaster has a quick mind, accustomed to adapting new information as it presents itself, and there is information he currently needs from you. Which brings me to one of our provisions. You will provide us at your earliest convenience with a detailed written report of everything that happened on Menagerie and Haven Academy when the White Fang attacked. Leave nothing out. Who was there, what happened, when.
Written? Sun said, swallowing hard. Theodore raised his eyebrows. You do know how to write. I'm more of a man of action, Sun said. Rumple rolled her eyes. Don't worry, sir, Scarlet said. We'll help him with the big words. That's what teammates are for.
Oh my gosh,
Jesus
we have
Christ.
we have so much left.
We do?
Yes, we have 1, 2.
Oh my god, how
3,
long is this chapter?
4, 5,
104
6,
up to
7, 8 pages to go.
Oh, okay, we can keep going. We can do this.
We've been at an hour and a half. Alright, guys. Time for speed. Professor Rowena's Sunnybrook's weapons training class was definitely a time and a place for action. This morning was the first time all of the new teams were gathered together, and there was a fair bit of uncertainty about where everyone should stand and apprehension about how they were going to work together. For his part, Scarlet was excited to stand with Team Rusk and eager to see what they could do. Good morning, students, said Professor Sunnybrook. She walked around a small arena, which was basically a big sand pit. That had always seemed odd to Scarlet. If you wanted to fight in the sand, why not just go outside? There's plenty of sand in this place. And why would anyone want to fight in sand if they didn't have to?
I feel like Sunnybrook should have, like, the most dour voice ever. Like, good morning, students.
Good morning, students.
Alright, continue.
They usually cheer... because she's cheerful and energetic.
Oh, okay.
The usually cheerful and energetic teacher had an inscrutable expression today. She looked uncomfortable, clutching her long, dark braid in both hands. I'm sure you can use a break after yesterday's initiation, but you won't get one in real combat conditions. Scarlet could definitely have used some rest. Spending hours in an underground dust mine fighting a herd of jackalopes wasn't a fun time, nor was staying up so late to clean his clothes and shine his shoes. One of the greatest survival skills you can acquire is the ability to push through any difficulty or disadvantage, Sunnybrook went on. She tied that to their location in Vacuo, which presented plenty of difficulties and disadvantages, which they should consider personal challenges. Scarlet was surprised she was talking so much. Usually by now they'd be sparring with their classmates and running drills. Then Professor Rumple stomped into the classroom. You started without me, she said. Sunnybrook's eye shot up. You're late, and this is my class.
Ooh. Sunnybrook just went from chatty to catty. All right, we get it. Scarlet. Oh, wait, Scarlet's gay. Never mind. Damn it.
Rumple crossed the arena and said, I'll take it from here, Rowena. Sunnybrook shook her head, but she stepped aside and swept a hand out to seed the floor. You all performed very well in yesterday's reinitiation. Professor Rumple slowly turned in place to address the ring of students. I know it was an unsettling exercise, but our responsibility as your teachers is to prepare you for anything that might come your way. Before you got here, some of you were trained to rely on your teams. Well, what do you do when your team is gone and you're on your own? Scarlet glimpsed a shadow passing over Nolan's face. Her remark had landed a little too close to home. Nolan took a deep breath and seemed to steady himself. Similarly, many of you are quite skilled fighters, adept with your weapons and your semblances, Rumple went on. But you can't always rely on them either. What are you without your weapon? Today we're going to find out.
Yeah, Ruby, what are you without your goddamn weapon?
Fast. Need for speed. Any good things in the comments?
I wonder whether EC and or the main RWBY writers have such a hate boner for Sun now.
Because he's a man.
Because he's the most likable character, and they're like, look, we gotta ruin him so that everyone else will like our other characters more. Even though that's not how that works.
Everyone. Alright, I need to take a little bit of a breath there. Oh, I'm out of water. Okay. The room is filled with whispers. Fight without weapons? In weapons training? Is she kidding? Great. What next? Coco muttered to Scarlet. Rumple's announcement took some of the wind out of Scarlet's sails, too. Like most students, his weapons complemented his semblance and fighting style. Huntsmen trained with their weapons until they were practical extensions of their own bodies, wielding them as effortlessly as breathing. But Rumple insisted. Each of you must become adept at handling yourself with any weapon you can get, or even without a weapon. Without dust, for that matter. Real combat usually doesn't go according to plan. It's essential that you push outside your comfort zone. She waited till everyone had settled down, then said, So, let's begin. When I call your name, put your weapon down and enter the arena. A random weapon will be provided for each of you. Whew. She looked around the room expectantly. Several students looked away as her gaze passed over them, but some students, mostly the native vacuum students, raised their hands. Scarlet raised his hand too. Hey, he was always up for a challenge. Professor Rumple called out, Nebula Violette! Nebula lowered her hand and stepped forward. The short-haired girl dropped her crossbow at Rumple's feet. Scarlet had tangled with Nebula in the Vital tournament. She was a decent shot with her bow and skilled at close combat when she converted her weapon into a sword. No match for him and Darling, of course. He'd be interested in seeing what she could do unarmed. Professor Rumple looked around one more, really drawing out the moment. She smiled, then said, Velvet Scarlatina! Velvet's face paled. Oh, come on! Coco said, intervening for her former teammate. Professor Rumple swiveled to glare at Coco, her eyes flashing. Scarlet heard Coco gasp and realized something. Maybe his new teammate wasn't as unshakable as he usually let on. Yatsuhashi tried to step in front of Velvet, but she pushed him back firmly. It's okay, she said. She removed her camera and handed it to him. Hold on to this for me. Nebula laughed. Hardly much of a disadvantage. What good's a camera in a fight anyway? A few students clapped. Shade students, of course, and only stopped when Rumple spoke, a hard edge in her voice. Save it for the arena.
I just want to pause and reflect on something here. You live in a world where someone has a minigun that folds up into a hand purse. What good is a camera? That camera could be a fucking nuke for all you know. These people are idiots. Sorry, please continue.
Hold on, I need a breath. Hey, fun fact, chat. When I was a young teenager, I had a lot of problems with rambling too fast, and people couldn't understand what I was saying. So I worked really hard on enunciating, and now I can read very, very fast out loud. I hope everybody's following.
I'm really following very well. It's very effective. We're almost like halfway through what we had left. This is so not cool.
Scarlet whispered to Coco. Velvet and Nebula were both on the same team. They shouldn't be forced to fight each other. Sure, Coco sparred with her teammates on occasion, but never with the intent of beating them, especially in front of an audience. Where's my glasses? My props! No, it isn't, Coco said. Nebula is supposed to be Velvet's new team leader. Rumple can't think this is going to help them build trust. I can't guess what she's up to here. Why is this weird? Like, sports teams have inter-team scrimmages all the time.
Yeah, with the intent to beat each other. Like, that's how you get better. You don't just... Do these people think that, fight training is people just, like... just punching at each other, like languidly, like what noodle punches? Like, what do they think combat training is? It's typically getting your ass kicked and then learning from that experience and then building muscle in the process. Muscle and reflexes and muscle memory, that sort of stuff.
And technique.
Yeah.
Also, how like, what if you come across someone who has a similar strategy as your teammate?
Also, like, Velvet, like, her memory, can't she just call up a memory of Yang?
Yeah.
Or is that, does she need the pictures on her?
I don't know.
Like, would having pictures on your person, because that's how she burns pictures, basically, to get the memories, would having pictures on you at the time count as your weapon or semblance?
I don't know. Let's keep moving.
Yeah.
Your line.
Can Velvet take her?
Scarlet asked. Coco would know, better than anyone, what Velvet was capable of. Coco lowered her glasses and studied the two girls as they approached each other in the arena. They're about the same size, evenly matched in strength. Nebula's better at hand-to-hand combat, but Velvet is faster and more versatile. She's got a fair shot at this, I think. Just then, Velvet reached into the center of the arena and smiled at her opponent. Scarlet had to hand it to her. She looked strong. Is Arslan a girl?
Yeah, Arslan's a girl. She's kind of like lioness.
What?
She's kind of like a lion.
They must object, Arslan called to Rumple, who was watching on the sidelines next to Professor Sunnybrook. They should not fight each other. We're teammates. We have to learn to work together. This just undermines that goal.
No, it helps you learn what the other person is capable of. Keep going.
Good for you, Arslan. You.
Oh, now there's a leader for you.
The Coco's glasses are DBZ scouters.
That doesn't matter, Professor Rumple said haughtily. In the heat of battle, a weak teammate can be worse than the most powerful enemy.
That's really not helpful, Arslan said. Rumple. Professor Sunnybrook put a hand on Rumple's arm and was surprised to be shaken off. Have some faith, Rumple said. Arslan looked at Velvet and Nebula and shook her head. She stepped back to stand next to Octavia. A pedestal rose out of the center of the arena between Velvet and Nebula. Sand cascaded off of it, revealing a spear and a heavy club. I forget what voice I gave her. You can pick first, Nebula said. Thank you. Velvet carefully considered each weapon before finally selecting the spear. The club looked too heavy for her to carry for long, and the spear was better suited for her speed. Nebula lifted the club and grinned. Fight! Professor Rumple commanded. Nebula tossed the club back and forth from one hand to the other, while Velvet tested the weight of her spear and the flex in its shaft. Fight! Rumple barked. Nebula lifted the club and rushed towards Velvet. Velvet stepped out of the way as Nebula smashed the club down where she'd be standing out a geyser of sand. Velvet planted the tip of the spear to the ground and held on tight, staying on her feet as the force of the blow blasted sand around her. Then she vaulted up and kicked out until Nebula knocked her back with the club. Is that the best you got? Nebula said. You'll see. Velvet ducked as the club swung past her head, clipping the tops of her ears. She winced and tossed the spear up into the air, then tucked into a roll towards Nebula. She sprang off her hands and leapt backwards, feet first, into the armored girl.
This is a lot.
Yeah.
If you want me to pick up, let me know.
Nebula held up her club, and Velvet landed on it, and they catapulted from it into the air. She caught her spear on the way down and aimed the tip at Nebula. Nebula tossed aside her club and planted her right foot behind her. She reached up and grabbed the point of the spear, then pulled it to her right, spinning Velvet around 180 degrees before letting go. Velvet was hurled backwards. She twisted in the air and jammed the spear into the ground, dragging a long line in the sand, slowing her momentum, until the tension in the weapon snapped it in half and she tumbled backwards. Velvet righted herself and looked up to see Nebula running towards her at high speed. Velvet raced towards her too, scooping up the halves of the spear and holding each section in her fist. Nebula came at her with fists flying. Velvet parried the blows with the broken weapons. "I've been waiting to do this for a while," Nebula said between hits. "This is fun."
Velvet's pretty good.
Crossing Fate fight. Can't escape from Crossing Fate. New meta. Scarlet commented under his breath. He'd seen her fight at the Battle of Beacon, so he knew she could copy the fighting style of the owners for each hard light weapon she used. But he didn't know that her semblance allowed her to call on those combat techniques at any time. Right now, she was drawing on moves he recognized from other students like Pura Nikos, Yang Xiaolong, and even Sun. The moves may not have been original, but Nebula was disoriented by the way Velvet seamlessly moved from one fighting style to the next. "She's been practicing," Coco replied. Most huntsmen revealed their training in the way they handled themselves in battle, but she confused multiple disciplines. Oh, this is still Coco. She confused multiple disciplines into a brand new technique, different each time. Velvet may fight like a lot of different people, but no one else fights like Velvet. Velvet and Nebula continue to trade rapid-fire blows.
Don't you just love when characters on the sidelines explain how the fight is working?
I mean, that's very Pokemon anime of her.
Yeah.
"Feel free to quit any time," Nebula taunted. "I'm tired of you all thinking that you're better than us," Velvet said between gritted teeth. "While I was defending Beacon, where are you? Oh, that's right, on the first transport to Vacuo." She swept the broken staff towards Nebula's head, then jabbed at her with the tip. Nebula spun away gracefully and turned the dodge into a roundhouse kick to the back of Velvet's head, knocking her forward. It's you.
Velvet still gets a point on that one for her snappy comeback. Yeah, it's almost like simple logic.
Scarlet whispered to Coco, and his new teammate nodded. Nebula wasn't letting Velvet off the hook. "But I am better than you," she said. "When we left Beacon because we knew it was a lost cause, just like you." Velvet knelt, gasping to catch her breath. Nebula brought her right leg high and then kicked downward. Velvet thrust the two pieces of her spear upwards and crossed them, catching Nebula's leg. The force of the blow pushed her into the sand. Cat fight.
CJ Black, a thought occurred. Wouldn't it make more sense for students to have a weapons class where they test fighting with different weapons, so they have experience with all different types while later making their own? I think that's sort of like the prior academies. It happens before. It's like Signal Academy, for example. It wouldn't be like at Beacon where you kind of already have your fighting style in place.
Yeah, they have like a pipeline system.
Yeah, feeder schools.
Feeder schools, yeah. Nebula launched herself upward and with her pinned leg to free herself. Velvet dropped the broken staff and tried to pull herself out of the sand, but she was stuck. Nebula landed behind Velvet. She walked calmly around her and picked up the pieces of her spear. "We're done here. You should go back to Vale." Velvet kept scrambling in the sand, but she couldn't dig herself out. Finally, her shoulders slumped and she stopped moving. But Rumple said, "Keep fighting!" "What?" Coco called out. "I beat her!" Nebula reached a hand down to help Velvet up. Rumple stalked into the arena.
"No, she beat herself. You don't stop fighting until you can't fight anymore."
"Look at her," said Coco, hurrying out to the arena. "Velvet can't even get up, and you expect her to keep fighting?" Rumple consulted her scroll.
"She has enough aura to continue."
A moment later, Yatsuhashi, Fox, and Arslan followed Coco. Yatsuhashi reached down, grabbed Velvet's shoulders gently, and slowly lifted her from the sand. "I'm good."
Yeah.
As soon as she was back on her feet, she pushed his hands away.
"What do you think you're doing?"
Rumple asked Coco. "I could ask you the same thing," Coco said.
"Velvet isn't your teammate anymore. You aren't responsible for her."
"Everyone stop, I'm not hurt." Velvet brushed sand off her clothes.
"Miss Adele, please remember that you are now part of Team Rusk. Miss Scarlatina is on Team Nova."
Arslan folded her arms and looked at Rumple. I forget the voice again. "I'm here to stand with my new teammate." "Hey, me too." Octavia stepped up beside her. "Velvet did great, but the fight's over." "Regardless of what team we're on," Coco said, "we'll always have each other's backs."
"And how did that serve you at Beacon when the worst happened? A situation Professor Ozpin never prepared you for,"
Rumple asked. Scarlet winced.
Cheap shot.
The comment sucked the air out of the room. Everyone fell quiet.
No one could have predicted that, Velvet said. Exactly, Miss Scarlatina, but we no longer have that excuse. We know a threat is out there. We know it's coming to Vacuo. To not prepare for that eventuality would be irresponsible, dangerous, and naive.
I just paused. Bitch, what did you expect Nebula to do? Club her face in?
Yeah, like a baby seal.
I'm just imagining a seal with little bunny ears now.
Aww.
And then getting clubbed.
Sarah, if you're watching, get on that. I don't know how, but get on that.
All right, where were we? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Rumpel began walking towards the exit. Please also remember your place at Shade Academy. Regardless of your accomplishments and the fame of Team Kitfi, you are the students and we are the teachers. As far as I'm concerned, that's as good as any reason to wipe the slate clean. Put everyone back on the same footing.
Rumpel glanced over her shoulder.
Perhaps Miss Scarlatina will learn something with a fresh perspective of her new teammates.
When she reached the doorway, she turned and paused.
Your new teams will receive their first missions tomorrow morning. Class dismissed.
Can you imagine walking into class and your professor calls up two of your classmates, one beats the shit out of the other, and then class is dismissed?
Yeah. Class just started. It's been like 10 minutes. At most. Not to mention, beat the shit out of your teammate. All right, beat them more.
Professor Sunnybuck shrugged as if to admit she lost control today. Class dismissed. Velvet followed Nebula out of the ring, pausing as she passed Coco.
Thanks for all that, but you shouldn't have.
That sounded British. We'll get through this, Coco said.
I know we will.
Velvet gave her a sad smile and left with her new team. Scarlet exchanged looks with Neptune and Sage before they left with teams Burn and C. They didn't need Fox's team speak to know they shared the same thought. What is going on? Soon Scarlet's new team, himself and Coco, plus Reese and Olive, was the only one left in the classroom with Professor Sunnybrook, and even the teacher looked a bit shell-shocked. Does Professor Rumpel seem all right to you? Coco dared to ask. Professor Sunnybrook shook her head. She's always been hard on the students. Maybe even too hard sometimes. That's fine, but she's never been mean before, right? She has the best of intentions. I don't think anyone cares more about the students and this academy than Rumpel and Headmaster Theodore. Scarlet had to argue with that.
Oh, sorry. Maybe I imagined it, but it looked like she was picking on Velvet.
Coco nodded. I always thought she liked Team Kiffy. Sunnybrook was full of excuses. She's on edge. We all are. We all have our bad days. But Scarlet knew the real answer, and as they were here, every day was going to be a bad day in Vacuo.
Kind of a pet peeve. I hate the word mean.
The word what?
The word mean. M-E-A-N.
Yeah.
It's a very weak word to me. Like, being mean to someone, it's like less than bullying. Like, it's like on the stage to bullying. What we just saw there was, I would say, characterize it as not mean, but cruel. Like, saying, hey, you've gotten the shit kicked out of you. You need to have more shit kicked out of you. That's cruel. If not downright abusive. No. Also, I really hate all these arguments. These arguments make no sense when you break them down logically. It's like, well, now we have no excuse. It's like, great, yes, but like, Velvet's not going to learn anything because she literally could not fight any further. She had, like, the reason you stop a fight is because there's acknowledgement that if this were in a real life or death situation, you would be dead. That's when the fight stops. It doesn't continue further so that you can get up and learn from the exercise and then not die. If you really wanted the fight to continue, let Velvet stand up and then have a round 2. Like, I mean, I think it's very obvious at this point they're trying to portray that Rumpel is basically trying to kill the shit out of them. Because I get the feeling that all this has been arranged so that they can get Team Coffee killed and so they don't, get involved in the shenanigans or whatever they're doing in that weird building. But like, it just, God, the character is just sucking up and accepting these arguments, these logical fallacies, just disgusting, honestly.
I imagine traumatizing Nebula like that.
Yeah, it's like, yes, just
kill her.
Rumple,
Just fucking do it.
do it.
Do it.
Now,
Should I voice her like that now?
Nebula?
Tomorrow we will have another sparring session between Team Kiffy and our most dangerous students.
Do it. This really is like freaking Star Wars. I don't like sand. It's rough and coarse, and it gets everywhere. Now we have Emperor freaking Palpatine in the short stack form. Okay, chat. That's all we're going to read for today. How did everyone enjoy the podcast or the cast? The live stream, the video.
Stream. Did anybody appreciate my fast read?
I was impressed. You cleared that in no time. That was great. 'Cause you had a bad day.
I had to come up with all of those voices on the spot.
Yeah, there's a lot of female characters in this series.
Yes.
So if Vacuo is Egypt, not 100%, why are there so many characters based on why aren't there any characters based on the Egyptian gods? They are so easy, simple to explain since many of them appear as animals or have animal heads. But thinking of it more, I don't want to ruin them. Yeah, Ray, don't encourage them to ruin more historical / religious figures. You
don't want another Fate Go incident.
They might consider it offensive to do that, which would be in line with modern Rooster Teeth, where apparently there are things that are off limits to their comedy. You know, so much so that they're willing to go back into their catalog and erase things. Velvet was emo, but I didn't know full-blown Anakin. Velvet is Anakin, that'd be great. The voices are good as always, but I feel like this story is going down in quality. Do you only feel that now, where they had an entire initiation segment and then breezed over it in a chapter?
It felt like half a chapter.
I mean, yeah, it felt like that, because I think we had a interlude. But the thing with that was, friggin' in the last book, they spent a lot of time flashing back to the Beacon initiation, and they spent a lot of time on it. Here, it was literally, they drop out of a plane, somehow everyone else gets there before Velvet and the girl that can literally skate on sand. She in the desert, you would think that she would be the fastest person to work with. And Velvet isn't slow, by any means. She would actually be faster than I think most people would in the desert. This is, the last book was okay. This book has not been doing good at all. It's been suffering something bad.
It's RWBY. It's what I expected.
You haven't seen Fate Zero Abridged, have you? Fate Zero Abridged Berserker, have you? Nothing is off limits. Oh, it's been a while since I've seen any Fate Abridged. I was actually in Fate Apocrypha Abridged, I believe. I was in one of the Fate Abridged. Me and Fat Man had a cameo. It was great.
I like how you've forgotten.
What?
I like how you've forgotten.
Which one? There's a lot. It was like maybe it was Fate Stay Night. No, it wasn't. It was the spin-off with the 12 billion different characters.
Okay.
I think that's Apocrypha.
I wouldn't know.
The only thing I'm worried about is you guys' sanity potentially dipping little by little with this shit. Yeah. And chapter 6 is kind of boring. I agree with you there. Chapter 6 was kind of boring.
I hate Scarlet with a passion. So do we.
I don't hate Scarlet. I like Scarlet. I hate what they've done to Sun, because they've basically just pontooned his character. Or, sorry, depth charged it. That's it.
How many chapters are left? There are 21 chapters in this and an epilogue.
So, what's 22 minus 8? Or minus 7? No, sorry, yeah, minus 8. What's 22 minus 8? 23 minus 8.
Okay, what's the number? Is it 23?
It's 23 because the prologue and epilogue count as a chapter.
That's true. 23 minus 8 is... What is 8 minus 3? We have 15 chapters to go.
Oh, goody!
Hope you guys are here for the long run. We'll finish this up in February.
Yep. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm going to get some food. And we'll
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
God.
grill some chicken.
Oh, that sounds good. I'm gonna get some Penn Station. Penn Station.
Nice.
All right. Catch you all on the flip side.